Welcome to Wheelhouse's first ever large workshop. Rebecca, what's up? Uh-oh, now all the pressure's on.
Yeah, I didn't know I'd have to have a camera on for
Well,
this.
you don't have to. You really don't have to. What we want to try today, though, as we're going to talk a little bit about is, we've done webinars before, and we do a decent amount of one-on-one coaching and product training. But we also wanted to experiment with just a larger class format. This is something we did with our team, and we wanted to share with you all and see if it works. So thank you all for showing up today. We're going to give folks a few minutes. The one PSA before we begin is if you don't see, we think this is all customers, all folks who work with the day, which means all of you should have free dynamic sets right now. If you go to your dynamic sets overview now, so this link that I'm going to drop into the channel here, if you go here and you do not see a dynamic set, we have a breakout room, and you can go hop in with one of our teammates, two of our teammates, and they will make sure to get you with dynamic set up today. And you can find that breakout room link at the bottom of the Zoom window. Do you all see that? Are you able to see that? And then if you click that link, there should be one that says account setup, and our teammates will help get you all off and running today. Welcome all. Oh man, so many good folks. Thank you all for joining in the Big Wheelhouse experiment. We're going to give folks just about 2 more minutes because this is a build session. We have a lot to share today and build with you. And the reason we're saying make sure you have a set is we really want to encourage you to build along with us today, just in case you haven't used the tool yet. We're going to show you some ins and outs that I guarantee less than 1% of people have discovered. We do have support folks on the call. They're in breakout rooms. So if during today's presentation and build together, you just run into something that you can't solve, I move too fast, whatever it may be, I have had 2 cups of coffee, you can always hop into that side room. You'll work with our teammates. They can either help you right there, solve a problem, set up a follow-up discussion, whatever it may be, right? It's part of the experiment today is, can we support folks in a group setting and individually? So if you feel the need to hop in there, please do. It'll probably take a minute to answer a question or two, and you may hop back into the main room. Okay. What do you think, folks? Should we 1 more minute, or should we dive in? It's also an interactive session. I might ask questions of those of you who I know have used this tool. I might ask you for a question during this. So, Jim, any tough questions? Oh, there's a lot of Jim. Sorry. I'll hold that. So if you do have a question too, some of you know on Zoom, you can raise your hand. You can also dump questions into the chat window. Our team will do our best to help with those questions as well. Excellent. All right, all. I think that's enough of the pre-context. Welcome to the Wheelhouse workshop. Let's first talk about what we're going to achieve today. This is our first large course. We want to make sure you get, yes, more value out of Wheelhouse today. No doubt about it. Part 2 is we would really value your feedback at the end of this. We are interested in, is there a format where we can, on a quarterly basis or more frequently, gather like this and educate you on all the cool new things we're trying to build, what we can be doing better, get feedback, trainings, etc. That's valuable to us. And if someone's not on mute, Megan, can you make sure to monitor folks? We'll try to keep as many folks on mute as possible. Thank you. And then learn more. We've already kind of named how this is going to go. We're going to walk through and we're going to build together. If you have a simple question such as, hey, I don't understand that, great question, great type of question to drop into chat. I might see it, or a teammate, John DeRelay, who's going to be kind of monitoring chat and hopping in with us throughout this, might be able to answer it right there. Again, if you feel like you need a lot more help, you've fallen behind on a little bit of the build, please, again, join a breakout room. It'll be a little calmer environment where you can get your questions answered. If this format doesn't work for you, you can leave at any time. This is an experiment. We just appreciate you being here trying to learn with us. We're going to get, yes, a few framing slides on dynamic sets, just so you can understand a little bit of what we're trying to build toward here. We will blast through those slides in a couple minutes. And then we're going to go right into the tool and we're going to build together. At that time, if you want us to build, it's not going to be a prescriptive demo. I'm going to kind of choose someone who might offer their market up and we'll go build in that market together, right? So nothing's set up beforehand. We're going to build with you just as though we're building a set for the first time together, okay? Then we're going to talk about assigning listings to a set. On the old Wheelhouse, every listing had a set. In the new Wheelhouse, one set could have 100 of your listings stitched to it. So we're going to show you, make sure you know how to do that and see the benefits when you're able to then bring that data everywhere. So part 3, once we've created a set and assigned listings, we're going to see all the new places you can use this data across your revenue management platform. And if we have time, we would love to get your feedback, what we can be doing better. We'd love to share some next steps, see if you have other ideas, and we'll kind of invite those along the way today as well. So with that, let's dive into the intro and the framing and really the why. I think as you all know, you all manage incredible, unique portfolios, right? And suffice to say, our way of thinking about the world right now is the inventory that you mostly manage is quote unquote in. People want to travel to beautiful destinations that have amenity-rich offerings. A challenge that has created is we kind of exist in this much more complex accommodations landscape. You all have known for years that, yes, you're competing maybe somewhat against that nearby hotel, and maybe you somewhat want to listen to their strategy, perhaps. You also might have noticed recently that because of the way certain platforms like Airbnb now does search, where you can say, show me beach locations, travelers are now looking across many markets before they book, right? These changes in our ecosystem have, in our minds, kind of pushed towards needing a new type of tools. And I think really, I kind of break this down into like, well, as you're building your pricing strategy or changing your pricing strategy from what Wheelhouse provides, I think a great question is really, what should you be listening to? Should you be listening to part-time hosts or part-time available properties? What about that new property that just popped up? What about that hotel? What about the next town over? There are a lot of questions that we think we've heard are important when you're kind of building out your optimal pricing strategy. And really the goal of dynamic sets, most simply, is to give you more control of what you, and eventually of what Wheelhouse listens to in helping you build your best strategy. In the old days, we had a recommended set. It wasn't good enough. It really wasn't. And who's better at telling us who that listing is competing against than you? So we wanted to make a new mapping interface and new data. And really what we've moved towards, hopefully with dynamic sets, as we see today, as we'll hopefully see today, is we wanted to make the map unbounded. So not just limited to identifying competitors near you, but anywhere, potentially. There's a lot of potential value in that. And then we wanted to wildly increase the amount of data we had available to you all. So if you wanted to, sure, filter by bedroom size, that's fine. But, as we start to mix hotel inventory and short-term rental inventory and motels and resorts, we wanted you to tell us kind of more easily be able to find that. Maybe it's really important to understand who's a beachfront property or who has a pool. We wanted to make that data much more accessible to you. We see a lot of markets where you have short-term and mid-length stays. Maybe you want to listen only to mid-length or only to short-term, whatever it may be, right? And I think one thing to think about today as we demonstrate more of what our product team has put together here, we can add more data layers and we will add more data layers. And you might have an idea of what you'd like to see, and we would love to hear that, okay? So consider everything we showed today just the start. We think when you combine mapping with a lot more performance data, yes, benchmarking and pricing strategies are possible, but we also are very interested in how you all can use this for owner comms, owner retention, acquisition, studying merchandising strategies, right? So by that, I mean, could you find the best performing property right near the ski resort and see how they're marketing? So we think making hospitality performance, accommodations performance more visual will hopefully be helpful. Today, we're just going to see the top three. Sorry, I'll just delete these for more visibility. We're going to look at these today. And if today's session again works, we're happy to do many more of these and teach on a few other of these platforms. Okay. So without further ado, the workshop agenda, we're going to create a dynamic set together. We're going to then review detailed metrics, including some new updates to your metrics page that hit yesterday. We're going to then take a dynamic set and we're going to show you how to bring it into your dynamic pricing strategy. We call this in context. And lastly, predicated on having enough time, we're going to get to the performance page, formerly called the booking page, but where you see your portfolio page or your portfolio performance. And as some of you may now know, you're able to bring in each of these sets we're creating into that performance page. All right. It's a lot to get through. We got 50 minutes to go. So does anyone does anyone want to volunteer their market? Again, we're going to build live. I didn't want to set this up at all. We wanted to build with you. If you can throw it into chat, that would be great. And if not, I do have a market in mind that I love. What do we got? Seattle. Okay. We got Denver. Okay. I saw Denver first. So we'll do both. We're going to do two sets. All right, all. If you could give me a thumbs up if you are on this dynamic sets overview page. If I see a few, I'll know some of us are there. Again, I'm going to put this link into the chat now because this is tied to your account. So you clicking this link will open up your version of this. All right, Emily Connor, are we a yes? Are you able to see it? Max Bachmeyer, we're a yes. Larry? All right. Excellent. So what we're going to do today all is we're going to start what we call Navigator, our mapping interface that underpins a bunch of products we want to build, but dynamic sets in particular. And for right now, there's a couple ways to start, but usually a pretty good idea just to type in whatever address, and you don't need to follow Denver. You can build in Steamboat. You can build in wherever you want. You can build in your market, right? We will teach principles that work anywhere. Basically what the system is doing when we load, we're going to load up to 5,000 listings at one time here. Currently, the system does about 500 listings per second. So you should expect about 10 seconds for your data to load. Okay, we will get that faster. And I will show you today how you can expand the number of listings you load. And then we would just ask for your patience as we load a lot more data. When we load what are 5,000 listings, we will be loading all of their data looking 365 days in the past, in the future, times up to 200 amenities. So you can imagine there's a lot of data that we're trying to load here for you all to explore. Okay. Before we do anything, let's make sure we know how to use the map. So most simply, if I scroll out, I can go really broad. I could go look at the whole US and scroll in. You can get as precise or zoomed out as possible. We'll talk a little bit about what that will enable us in the future today. Okay. I can drag the map to hone in on an area. Very simple. A little more complicated. On my keyboard, I can push Control and drag the mouse and rotate it. And if I hold Control and lift up, you'll see we're going to start to get kind of a differentiated view of the landscape. Okay. If and when you move the map, you'll want to click this search area and we'll reload data. Okay. I know any questions so far, if they pop into chat, Great. We'll actually get a lay of the land while we're going here. Let's just get to know some of the rest of the tool. So we will step into our settings page in a minute. This is where you can customize everything you're seeing on Wheelhouse or on the Dynamic Sets product. Up here, we have mapping tools, right? So if I was to click on this, this is one of the ways you can draw a shape. Maybe you want to draw some particular street boundaries. But if you want to fine tune and I double click to close a boundary or push return or enter to close a boundary. But as soon as I do this, I've created a boundary that I'm going to start to, we'll actually reload listings within this boundary as we go. I can delete boundaries to load more data. And I can do kind of fun things, such as I might want to look at this district here, draw this boundary. And then I might want to draw this district here. And we'll now start to combine boundaries. It's funny. I wonder if a lot of us using this right now is slowing this down because the data should load a little faster there. We'll just give it a second. Also, sometimes I'll just hit this button, to be honest, on the tool. I went to the organize filters. I can drag these around for whatever view. And as soon as I click update, it's going to adjust the view I'm seeing here. When listings load, we'll click on them and we'll explore our in view. Before that, let's go into our settings. Okay. The sidebar, we're going to be able to manipulate what we see in terms of large thumbnails or not. This will make more sense as soon as we get listings to load. We're able to customize our pop-up as well. And we can go do kind of interesting things such as change map layers. Okay. Now, this is most fun once we know the different elements of the map that we can bring into our analysis. Okay. Here we have, I've opened up our show and hide layers. And this is when we mentioned earlier that you'll be able to tell us what data you want. Some of the data layers I can bring in, if I bring in hill shading and 3D views, you'll see that when I zoom in, I'm now able to see the buildings. If you're in, say, Steamboat, you're now able to also see places near the ski resort, as an example. We actually think elevation is really interesting when you're evaluating a new market. So if you have a 2D view, you might not realize that some of these properties might be in a valley, might be in a shadow. They might look close to the ski resort, but actually you have to drive over a big crest. So we do think they're pretty interesting things that might be possible if we start to combine some of these mapping layers. And again, I'm grabbing Control on my keyboard and I'm zooming in to change what I'm seeing here. I can close this out. If you ever get disoriented, you can always push this button just to zoom right back up to that bird's eye view. You might have noticed we can layer on things such as postal codes, which again, for assessments of properties might be interesting.
That menu was here, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Show hide layers. And again, if there's a data source, data set that you think might be interesting to see, you might be able to see the red lines. We now have the zip codes or the postal codes in for this. You should take from this that we're able to load in more data sets, even if we can't load listings, which finally hit. Do another search. When I do click on a listing, you might have noticed that this is some of what we can customize. There's a view that we can have of just the popover. We can also click the details to open up a lot more information about this listing. I can look at the past performance, and I'm looking at 90 days and 365 days of past performance. I can look at future performance. If I thought this was a listing I wanted to add to set, I could do so right there. Okay. We just added our first listing to a set.
One few things, just because I know the buttons are small. If you reopen that, Andrew.
Yeah.
That data that's showing the next 90 days, that is being controlled from up here. So you can switch the time frame. When you open up the side panel on the listing, it does show all the time frames. So you can see that this has 90 and 365 past and future here. And then what Andrew mentioned before is you can change what data is available on these in this settings portion in the upper part. So right now we're showing asking rate, average nightly revenue, occupancy, openness. You could choose different data points for that.
That's right. For
So
me,
I'll draw some
I'm
notes.
loading. We have some data loading again here. When I clicked the in view, it's showing me all of the listings that are appearing here on a map. What I'm able to do from this view is I can scroll through them. I could sort their performance, ascending or descending by a bunch of different attributes. Asking rate, RevPAR, occupancy. I had the days available. If I wanted to add an individual listing to the set, I could do so, or I could select all and add all of them to the set. Okay. Today's goal, we're actually just going to build a set with about 20 listings. Okay. So I'm still not seeing the data load quite as I expect and you deserve it to do. So we're going to roll with kind of a low data load environment right now and just keep learning the tool a little bit. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to drag. I'm going to create a boundary for this property. It'll now isolate the listings in the property down to a slightly more reasonable number. Let's see, 36 listings in view. If I wanted to now filter by just show me the properties with high occupancy, I can drag across any filter to again reduce the number of listings. Okay. A new update. Now I know what actually got deployed because this is a brand new feature. Will now show you the filter you've selected and the range you've selected, and we'll save it in the corner here. If you ever want to clear filters, you can do so easily. All right. So we're learning a little bit about the tool. I'm actually going to go back to my favorite view now. I'm going to strip out the buildings for a second. We don't need tilt shading right now. And again, what we're going to all try to march towards, I don't know if any of you are able to load this right now. What I want to do is I want to pull in what I think will be a good comparative set for my properties. So I will filter now again by occupancy. I'm going to take all these properties. I'm going to select all, and I'm going to add them all to my set. Okay. Click here to see all the listings through the various steps we've taken. Which listings are now saved in your set. If you've changed your mind, click remove from active. When John was talking about changing what you see here, the sidebar UI, I can change. If I don't want to have it be so picture forward, I can change that. If I want to see different data displayed here, maybe I want to strip out the calendar, for example, I can do so. One of my favorite features that will be come into play during owner acquisition is you're able to turn on Google Street View and actually drop in right to what will be close to the listing. Okay. You can probably see in that some steps Wheelhouse would like to take and making it easier for you to talk to an owner and say, hey, look, our portfolio did great this past summer. We'd love for the chance to talk to you about bringing your listing into our portfolio. We think this is a very interesting tool around owner acquisition. Okay, so we're moving a little bit slower. That's a data issue. My apologies. And really, these filters here, does anyone have a question about any of the filters they're seeing? Nightly revenue, amenities. Now that this is loading, I can do a little bit of a zoomed out view. Let's try searching the boundary. I can filter, I can select something like a pool. And start to just filter by which properties actually have pools. But a lot of the listings are relatively self-explanatory. You can see now we do have these, whatever we've selected is now updated in our filter view. If you had drawn a boundary, let's say we had drawn a real boundary that we really cared about and we really wanted to draw, just collect this area of Denver. Denver folks can tell me, I know this is not perfect, but we'll try to get downtown. If you wanted to build multiple sets, you can always save a boundary, Denver, demo, click save. And in the future, if you ever wanted to import those boundaries, you can do so by clicking this import boundary. Okay. This product's moved towards having saved boundaries, and the filters, we want to save those for you now too. So you can always come back to your dynamic set as you last built it. Right. So relatively new, at least the save filter views new as of this morning. Okay. So we hopefully have added some listings to our set. I'm going to click and just add a few more from Denver. You all, when you're using the tool, might notice that when you pop over a dot, this window pops up. I don't like that. So I always go to the pop-up and I make sure to actually, I want to click on the dot before I see that info bubble pop up. Okay. Now, with listings in a set, we're going to create our first set. To be honest, I think we'll probably move this up in the production process. As soon as you add a listing, we'll probably prompt you to save. Holy smokes, my data finally loaded. Too late, but whatever. We're going to do Denver demo, and we're actually building, even though it's a dynamic set, we call this a comp set. We're going to want to put it into our competitive category. We'll talk about that later, and we're going to create the set. You should not have to pay for a set. You can skip this for now. All sets are free till October. Great. So I really wish the data had loaded. I think you should be able to access all your data now to build along with us. But that was part one in kind of creating a set. Again, we have different tools we can use to draw boundaries. We can merge boundaries. We'll now see the data start to respond a little faster. If you're in mountain towns, just a little, let's go up to Steamboat for a second. It wouldn't be crazy, and this is part of the abilities we wanted to give you with this tool, to want to have a dynamic set that's starting to take into account multiple markets. Maybe you want to say, how are we doing versus Vail? How's Vail starting to price for winter or spring or whatever, right? You can start to borrow trends from multiple markets. So this should isolate listings within these. It's funny, we are definitely having a data load issue. I apologize. You'll notice some of the filters. You can look at operators. You can look at this adjusted occupancy. You can look at available nights, room types, etc. And all of it is designed to hopefully put you more able, I think actually apartments, houses, etc. These should all help you hopefully cut to the right data view for you faster. JD,
All
you
of these,
is that something you wanted to isolate?
yes, just that obviously things like bedroom count won't change here, but any of the metric based filters will adjust based on this time frame. So you can alter those as well. A good example would be if you're going into low season, the next 90 days may not give you very good information on the set. You might go back into the last 90 or even the last 365. But just as a reminder, this drop down does have an effect on a lot of things, including this filter, and we'll update the data so that you can filter by a different time frames data.
Yeah. Open and expand the widgets with these. Okay. Well, that was fun. We managed to create a set despite some technical issues. I actually think if you do want to build along, I would hope that we can, we're back to some load time that's reasonable. It'll probably still be slower than it should be normally because we will hit the system a little bit hard, but looks like we're kind of back. Okay, so we created our set. That set is now going to appear. We're moving into part 2, which is now assigning listings to a set. Okay. And by assigning listings to a set, we mean taking listings from your portfolio and figuring out who belongs, who do you want to kind of benchmark against, right? So in this case, when I click this button, we'll see a couple ways to do this. If I assign listings to a set, you're going to see all the listings from your portfolio. You can filter these. If I had actually listings from Denver, I don't think I do. I don't. Let's just pretend I wanted to see listings just from this market. You can imagine it's Denver. It'll filter right down and you could select all and assign these listings to a set. Okay, obviously we'd be more precise if we're building a dynamic set with you. Now, let's see the value of assigning listings to a set. And I'm actually going to click into, this will be a pre-built filter, but it'll help me with the next couple parts here. I built this set 2 days ago, really for today. And I'm now going to click into the metrics tab here, right? So we built our dynamic set in Navigator. And now we're going to go explore metrics. I have already assigned, this is a set built for the San Juan Islands. I could click from here to go edit the set. Oops, sorry. That would take me back to the mapping view. But I've assigned 9 of my listings to a set. Okay, what I'm now going to see this hit yesterday is I'm going to see the occupancy of all the listings I've added to the set versus my listings. Right, we'll probably need to change the word here. Probably should say your listings and your comp set or whatever it may be. Okay. On this chart here, you're going to now see a chart you might be familiar with on another part of our product, but you're going to see pickup, right? So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at within both your listings in pink and all of the listings all those competitors. Sorry, I'm sorry, I have it backwards. This is your set that you created, and this is your assigned listings. You're seeing where bookings are occurring, right? So you can even strip out and see where bookings are occurring in your market and hopefully get a sense of, hey, are my listings not booking, the market is, or vice versa? Am I booking faster than the market? You can change the date range to go out as far about 1.5 years, I believe. This chart will show you the asking rate, right? You can aggregate the view. You've seen this before if you've used our other old comp set product, or individualize the view as well. And you have a mapping interface here. On the calendar page, you're going to get your aggregated stats, as well as right now, we'll actually bring all your assigned listings into this view soon. Right now, this just shows those listings you added to the set. And you have kind of a multitude of other places. You can look at metrics, so adjusted RevPAR, occupancy. You can look at graphs, zoom out to a year, and trends over time. Much like before, much like everything you see on Wheelhouse is exportable as an image or as a CSV, an Excel sheet, so to speak. So all of these different items, once we've created a set, you can just create a set. You don't need to assign listings. We're going to see in a second why that might be valuable in other ways. But this metrics view is designed to be a really deep dive to help understand the performance. I think maybe the most interesting question we can answer is, again, are my listings booking in the market it's not, or vice versa? That's going to be a data piece that you can adjust a strategy around or communicate to an owner. Okay. So we saw how to kind of create a set, although we'll have to do a proper demo at some point. We saw how to assign listings to a set. I could also assign listings from here. So once I'm in the set, I'm going to have the same interface where I can add more listings to a set. I can see who I've already assigned, etc. We owe better help center content on that. All right. Now let's get a little more fun. When I assign a listing to a set, there's some other benefits that emerge. I'm now going to click into an individual listing. Okay, this is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom hypothetical property in the San Juan Islands of Washington. My old home. I have a sweet spot for it, no doubt. And what we're seeing here, as you all probably know, is we're seeing the pricing recommendations for the next 18 months. And you might have used the in context view before, where I'm able to bring in a dynamic set. Okay, before listings had a listing had a set. Now that listing could be assigned, you could assign this listing to multiple sets. And if you did that, you can change which set you're viewing or view first here. So if I change this view, I realistically wouldn't have the South England coast as a comp set here. It'll change the rendering in a second. Oops, 1 second here. Of course, I'm just throwing all sorts of fun kinks at our system today. So I'll go back to my set aggregate. It's going to load the chart here. And this is why when you load, you can create a huge market, what we call a market set on Wheelhouse with 1,000 listings. It's the reason, like with 25 listings or fewer, we can show you some better views here. So I could take and break out all the individual pricing. I can see the individual listings here. This view is going to become too much if you have a lot of listings here, but this set aggregate view should still be valuable. But question for you, let's say you were talking to an owner and this blue line reflected your current pricing strategy. This property was not getting enough bookings, but you were able to show that you were priced against your competitors here. What kind of communication could you have with that owner? Henry, I'm going to put you on the spot. What would you message?
Can you say the situation again? Sorry.
Sure. Here's your pricing. You're the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you can see your price below your competitors. What would you take from this?
I would go and look at occupancy and look at occupancy trends year over year, see if we're pacing lower. I'd also include that this is compared to scrape data. So it's going to be somewhat a little inflated given fees and everything. And then also just year over year trends, depending on the home. Looking at this one, we probably want to fill up a little bit more. Looks like they're lagging a little bit behind. So we do want to get traffic to help with algorithms, everything along those lines.
It's a great comms. Okay. Henry's a professional revenue manager. That was really good. And you can also, as you all know here, you can also, again, export all this as an image. So if you wanted to communicate a strategy to an owner, a teammate, etc., if you click export, you're going to get a downloaded of an image that you can send to anyone. Text is your data. So within this view, this is kind of the pricing in context. We do want to make it really easy to bring in your competitors, see their pricing strategy against yours. And Henry, you named a really interesting aspect as well, which is, okay, occupancy is a really important consideration here. If you're outperforming the market in terms of occupancy, your response is going to be different. If you're not driving occupancy and the market's not driving occupancy, what you probably would reflect to the owner here is like, hey, we actually are priced below, we're priced to sell and the market's not selling. Okay. Now, this is kind of, so we've talked about bringing your dynamic set into pricing. Now we're going to talk about bringing your dynamic set into your portfolio performance page. So this is a page that for certainly everyone who's gone through onboarding with Wheelhouse has seen this page before. Just in case, because some of you might be newer to Teams, what I'm looking at here now, I've loaded my portfolio performance. I'm looking at my revenue pacing or pickup, basically my pickup on a monthly, weekly. I could zoom into a daily basis. I have my pacing chart down below here. And as you might know, I'm able to strip out the totals just to see really what's selling right now. And I can filter this data by whatever I please: tags, bedrooms, markets, etc. What you can now do is you can also bring in a dynamic set. So in this case, I've mentioned I built that San Juan market. What I want to do is I want to bring in San Juan, that set I just created, and I want to see my performance. Right now I'm looking at revenue, but I could also, Henry, to your point, look at my occupancy. Another data point I might use to communicate a strategy to a teammate, to an owner, or make an adjustment myself, right? I can zoom in very close on all this information as well. Now, what you're probably correctly thinking, well, this is 89 listings versus 23. If you do want to just see, well, what's the average per listing? Let's see if we can toggle this on. Oh my goodness, is that bug number 3? That would just be too much for me. Well, we'll look at that. Let's do a refresh.
I don't know if we do that calculation on the sets comparison.
We did this morning.
We did? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's actually pretty nice. I can bring in, maybe it's just at the monthly level. Let's just check that. It should be on course on the daily level or weekly level. I just want to see. So right now we'll do it, but apparently only on the monthly level. Huh. Okay. So we got to give that to you on the weekly level. So this will now adjust so you can see, regardless of if you have different size sets or your portfolio is much different than a dynamic set, this will give you clarity on what you're seeing here. You can also compare 2 different types of sets. So right now we're looking at your portfolio, all of your portfolio. You could bring in a second group here, and now you're going to be comparing 2 of your sets. So you can compare 2 of your segments, a newer bit of functionality. And right now we do have that on average. So now we've seen a little bit of set creation, set assignment, bringing a dynamic set to the listing level and bringing it into our chart, and the performance page. Those are some of the main ways you can use dynamic sets today. Okay, we wanted to build a multi-market, more data-rich product you can bring into every aspect of your pricing strategy. Now, we're going to try something really fast here. We're going to go back to sets, and I'm going to do a slightly different experiment. And we did build a comp set with the goal of using that competitive set for benchmarking and pricing strategy. Okay. Now I want to do something a little bit different. I've loaded San Francisco. We will not default to San Francisco starting next week. We do today. That's our home base. So we will default to a different way. If you ever wanted to just circle right on your computer, you can push this icon on. If you're giving your browser permission to know where you are, this is true. I'm broadcasting from my home right here on Fulton and Lyon. But what I want to do is I want to look at this operator filter. And when we think of this tool as a potential for owner acquisition, one of the things that we will make easier for you all, but right now I do need to click each individual dot. We want to make it possible for you to go find the people who have 1 or 2 listings in your market. Maybe listed on Airbnb, Vrbo, or Booking.com. Okay. When I apply this filter, I'm now looking at all of these listings that are managed by a non-professional. When we shared earlier that you can customize this view so that you can actually bring Google Street Maps, you can actually bring Google Street Maps and it'll drop you. We don't always have precise data. But we think between the images that you're able to find, and you all know your markets well, you might be able to get a letter to their door. And in the future, we will partner with either Venturi, Send Squared, or others. But we do imagine that this product can serve you for owner communications and explaining a strategy or owner retention. We think it can serve for your pricing strategy. We sure hope it helps you expand your portfolio. And the other item you can do, kind of fun, but there will be more. And we're super eager to hear as you start to look at mapping and performance data. In this case, I'm going to go zoom up to the Napa region north of San Francisco. And we're going to load properties. I've got this filter here. Let me remove the filter. I'm going to collapse this side panel and I'm going to go back to the amenities. Because now that our data is actually loading here, we can do something kind of fun. In this case, I'm going to choose pools, right? I'm now seeing all the places with pools in my view here. Next, I want to go look at the average nightly revenue. And what I want to see here, I want to pull in the top performers. And I've now isolated those folks who are doing the best in the next 90 days. And something I can now do, especially because I have a link to the OTA, I can go figure out maybe something that these operators are doing, Ken and Joe are doing, to display their property in a way that's selling really well right now. Often what we'll see when we filter by a pool is that in the first couple images, you will see that pool. Let's see, this one does not have that. That's fun. All right, let's go check another. So we do imagine that this tool can be used. Sometimes you'll see, like in this one, we'll actually see it. It's going to be the first photo. So you can see how people are merchandising their properties. And sometimes I like to think about you all. Part of the business, yes, is making sure guests get in the door when they arrive. And part of it is finding out how with 24 or 30 photos, you can sell your home to prospective guests. People might be shopping, especially right now in summertime for a pool. In the winter in your market, the first photo you might want to show is that hot tub or the fireplace, right? Some merchandising strategies. So we do think you can use this to go study and learn across many markets, right? We want to give you access to whatever's selling anywhere. Plenty of ski towns are testing different merchandising strategies. If they're coming online into their booking window a month early, you might want to see what's selling right now. So I know I just threw a lot at you, and it hurts when the demo data doesn't load. The last thing I'll share, and then I would just love, of course, any thoughts, questions, tough questions from you all. What's coming next? A lot more and better data, obviously faster loading time. Right now, Wheelhouse, we do have 3 data providers that we use. We have booking.com data that's now coming in here. We're loading about 20 million listings in this. So more and better data, we'll continue to add that. Today, we saw what we call static sets. So I grabbed 20 listings and I added them to a set. What you'll be able to do next is say, just grab the top, just show me the most occupied 2 bedrooms. And Wheelhouse will actually update that variable set every single day. So you can just create the competitive set that you want to be listening to. And we'll update it in real time. So if a property goes offline for the next 90 days, maybe you shouldn't be considering it anymore in your pricing strategy. We are really excited about what I call right now, set-powered pricing. That is the ability right now. You might know that you can tell us how much to listen to demand near you or your historical data. We really think that that set you bring in, you should be able to tell us how much you want to listen to that pricing strategy as well. We want to put you in control.
Andrew, there was a question.
Yeah.
Can you go to the sets navigator page just so I
Yes.
can answer it visually?
Yes.
And then go here.
Mhm.
So this was Rebecca's question, is if we can see the cleaning fee. And you just click over here. If we go up here, there, the settings. And let's just X out baths for now. And then cleaning fee, that was the one. So you can add that attribute, and then
Yes.
this will appear in the system. It is also, there's another place where you can make it appear on the pop-up too.
Yeah, so it'll include it here. Oh yes, if we wanted to include that on the pop-up, you can change your pop-up here, and we're actually going to we'll change the data. And we'll add that cleaning fee, and it'll pop up right there. Could probably be
Does that-
brighter, better formatted.
Does that pull into after I've built a set? Because essentially what I'm trying to do is a question we get all the time is like,
Mhm.
what's the cleaning fee average in this area for 1 bedroom? There's not a technology out there right now that you can scrape that information that
Let's
I
check.
know
Yeah, go ahead,
that
Jay.
works properly.
I'm not sure if it is in the metrics part on like the graphs where, so if you click on metrics, Andrew, on a set that you have saved,
Mhm.
I can think of where we would put it, but I don't know if it's currently there. But since we have the data, we might be able to just do that.
Yeah, that's a great call. It's a great ad. We don't have, I don't
Then go
believe we
here.
have it here. I don't believe it
Here.
would maybe work well in the overview, but
Can
that's a
you-
great call. It's a great call.
Can you go back just to that metrics page,
Yes.
and then click here for me?
Oh,
It
brilliant.
is there. So
It
then
is.
this is exportable. So if now keep in mind this individualized data won't show unless you have 25 or less. So you have to keep the set down to 25 or less to export this. It will otherwise show an aggregate version.
Yes. And all that is maybe one thing we definitely heard is that folks want that individualized view at sets that are larger than 25. We will up that at some point. There is a huge amount of data. There's a lot of data we're trying to load across a lot of the sites. So if we can get this to load very effectively for you, we'll adjust that. And there are some views where it becomes too much, but that is right. You'll have disaggregated data, so individualized data under 25 listings. You can build a 2000 listing set if you want, but then you'll just have the aggregated view of data. Okay. Oh, holy smokes, you were patient today with something that certainly could have gone more smoothly. I want to see what other questions do folks have, or things you would like to see